Okay, good afternoon and welcome everyone to this informal lunchtime event that's been organised by CILIP North East Regional Member Network. We are recording this event and it will be shared afterwards on our social media channels, so please be mindful of that when sharing details and using your camera. I'm Susie Williams. In my day job, I'm an academic liaison librarian at the University of Sunderland, working with our School of Media and Creative Industries. And today I'm wearing my hat as the newsletter editor of the CILIP North East Committee. Great to have you on our call today. If you haven't already done so, put your details in the chat. Let us know what you're interested in today. And I'm delighted to be joined today by Cheryl Francis, who's a member of my team as well, and she's the academic liaison librarian for our medical school. Last year, Cheryl applied for one of our CILIP North East bursaries. And today I'm going to chat with Cheryl about her experiences applying for the bursary, and she'll share some hints and tips to help others who may be interested in applying as well. So get your pens ready for jotting down any details. I'll do a short introduction about the bursaries and then paste details about them in the chat so you can look at them in detail in your own time. So what are the CILIP bursaries? Well, in the North East, we've got two of them that are open to you. Firstly, our Beyond the Horizon bursary, which is for non-members. So maybe if you're thinking about becoming a CILIP member and want to experience an event before you sign up, CILIP North East sponsors 3 places to attend our annual Beyond the Horizon event for those living or working in the North East but aren't currently CILIP members. This half-day online conference showcases work across the profession, and the bursary gives you the opportunity of seeing what we're about before signing up to CILIP. This year, the event is taking place on Monday, the 18th of May, and applications for the bursary open in each March. So keep an eye out for your email on that. Our second bursary is a member benefit. So this means it's for CILIP members living, working or studying within the North East region of England. So that covers Northumberland, Tyne and Wear, County Durham and Teesside. So this is financial support that can be used to attend training events, workshops, conferences, or anything CPD related. It's intended to facilitate your attendance, which might not otherwise be possible due to cost, time commitment, location, that kind of thing. While we encourage all members to apply, we particularly welcome applications from those from low income and underrepresented backgrounds. And to reflect the wide range of development opportunities available across the profession, we're offering these bursaries on a discretionary basis. And to give you an idea of the kind of thing we can support, it might be webinar registration fees that we can give up to £75. For networking opportunities with fellow professionals, we can offer up to £100 and conferences up to £500. So it might be helpful to give some example of what you might want to apply for. And we encourage you to be really creative in what you want that support for. So it could be that you're new into a role and would find it helpful to meet up with someone in another library doing a similar role. And let's say your library is happy for you to give you the time to do this, but not able to give the financial support. So you might want to claim the travel costs to go and meet up with that person. Or you might see an event that would really benefit you, but you could only afford to pay part of the cost, and you might apply to us to match that. So it's kind of matched funding. In today's conversation, it will focus on Cheryl's experience of applying for the North East CILIP bursary last year. But if you're interested in discovering more about the actual conference you went to, you can read this on our blog through a series of blog posts that Cheryl wrote. And I'll be putting the details of the bursary and those blog posts into the chat. So first of all, we've got the details of the bursary and who to contact if you've got questions. And secondly, I'm going to paste in the details of the blog post that Cheryl wrote. So if you want to find out the ins and outs of what she was doing, then you can do that as well. So Cheryl and I are going to have a bit of an informal chat for about 20 minutes, and there will be opportunity at the end to ask any questions. But if you've got any questions, please do pop them in the chat and we'll answer them if we can. But as we will finish promptly at 1:30, because you might have other commitments or lunch to get to, if we can't answer them, we will do that in a follow-up email so that you observe opportunities. So Cheryl, let's get started.
Hi,
So,
Susie.
it's lovely.
Hi.
I know we're in different parts of the North East today, but it's great to have this opportunity to chat with you. So, to kick off, how did you hear about this CILIP North East bursary?
Well, I think I'd probably heard about it, just I'm not exactly sure where from, but I knew that CILIP North East did a bursary. I wasn't quite sure what that looked like, so to speak. But what happened is I found a conference that I wanted to go to. And so I was looking for where I might be able to find money to be able to attend that conference because our institution at that point wasn't able to fund us to do that. So I was Googling about and I just thought, well, I'll go on the CILIP website as I'm a
Mhm.
member of CILIP and have a look at the bursaries section there just to see what's available. And I saw the bursary there, and yeah, so that's how I found out about the detail of it. Yes, was from the website.
Okay, that's good. So it's good to know people are finding that. You never quite know when you put stuff out if people find it.
Exactly.
So that's really good to hear to start with.
Yes.
So why did you sort of choose our bursary? Sometimes there's a bit of a myth that only certain people can apply and get bursaries. What was it that kind of, I don't know, whetted your appetite to actually go ahead and apply for the bursary?
Well, I suppose the first thing is, you've got to, there's a few bursaries available, but are you eligible? So, that narrowed it down straight away. And then when I looked in more detail about the sort of bursary that CILIP North East are offering, it was actually exactly what I needed, which was, like you were saying earlier, you've got this kind of flexible element whereby you can apply to actually attend any conference. Like quite often, bursaries are for a specific conference, and that's great. But there's quite a lot of opportunities that are missed out from that. So the fact that I could apply for something that I really wanted rather than just a particular thing that you were suggesting, that was the real reason. Um, and I think so. Just as a disclaimer, I work a part of what I do. I'm part of another CILIP special interest group, the Health Libraries Group, and I do look after prizes and bursaries there. So I have quite a good understanding that quite often, although bursaries are widely available, um, they're quite underutilized. So I think that's a real tip, really, is that if you see a bursary on offer, it's always worth applying.
Yeah, I think that's really good. You might think, oh, is it me? But you don't know who else is applying. So you might as well give it a shot.
Yes, and I think that people have the idea that lots of people are applying. So and then you think because there's some work, and I'm sure we'll go into that. I'm sure you'll ask me. There's some work involved in filling out the form. So you just think, shall I invest that time? And if there are hundreds of other people applying, I won't get it. But I don't think, I don't know about your bursary, but certainly for the ones that I've been part of, that's not the case. So you've got a better chance than you might imagine initially.
I think that is a really good tip for people and anyone that might be
Mm.
watching, recording this at a later date. Give it a go. If you've got a bit of time, then actually, if you've applied for one, even if that doesn't work, you've put in the time, so you might be able to rework that for another bursary.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant. So, what did you have to do to apply? Like for people who are listening, want to know, well, what does the CILIP North East bursary ask you for? What did you put on the form? What kind of stuff did you have?
Yeah, so it asks um, for the details of what you want to apply for. So I actually applied for, there was a conference called Darts 9. I can't offhand remember what Darts stands for, but it's basically a research. It's part of I think it's another CILIP group that runs Darts, and they weren't there wasn't bursaries available directly for darts. So that was where I wanted to go. So I had to fill in an application form with the details of darts, how much darts was, and then what CILIP North East asked for, and what the major part of the form is about you explaining, really giving reasons why you want to attend. You know, like you have to make a case, obviously, for the people reading, why they should offer you the money to attend the bursary. So what I always think, obviously I read quite a lot of people's bursaries applications, and so I have a good understanding about what bursary offerers are looking for. So what we're often looking for, and what I assumed the Northeast CILIP Northeast bursary would be looking for, is specific information about how what you want to attend will help your career development, and then how that will spill out either to your users or to your colleagues, so how you might then pass on information about that. So you really have to make a case, and there's I think it's a I think I don't know how many words it was, but maybe I used, I don't know, maybe 750 to 1,000 words, I suppose. Just really saying and being very specific about making it obvious that I'd read the website of the conference that I wanted to go to, you know, and explaining, oh, I think this will be good because this is what I want to know about, or I really want to meet this person and have a conversation because I think it would be very good for me in terms of networking because of this and this. So yes, so that's how I applied, was through the form that's I think I may have emailed to get it, the form, and then just filled in the form basically. It took a little while to do, you know, it's a thoughtful process, but it's a useful process. Part of that process enabled me to make much better use of the actual conference itself, because I had to think about how, you know, what I could do really, you know, what conversations to have, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's really useful. And actually, I can provide a bit of an update because I think we were reviewing our bursary offer when you contacted us. And actually now people can access the application form on the website. So that makes it even easier.
That's great. Yeah, that's right.
So,
I remember that.
Yeah. So how easy or difficult did you find the application process?
Yeah, it was really easy in terms of, you know, the form's there. It's really simple to fill in. I think it does take some consideration. So, you know, it took me, I don't know, but maybe a couple of hours to think about it and make a case. So, you know, it's simple, but takes a little bit of thought. But you would expect that, you know. I was asking for the full price of a conference and some of the travel. So I think it was around 300 to 350 pounds. I think it might have been more than that in the end. Oh yeah, that's my other tip, is don't forget VAT, which is what I had forgotten initially. So do add VAT. The committee was very kind and did offer me the VAT as well. But that was something that I didn't realise wasn't included in the price. Yes, so that's another tip.
That's really good because I don't think I would have thought about that. So that's a really good tip. So anyone, if the price is quoted and it says plus VAT, if you're applying for the bursary and you'd like us to cover the, you know, the cost and the VAT, do that calculation and or put, you know, the amount plus VAT on your form. So that's a super helpful tip there. Let me think. So you obviously decided, I'm going to apply for this bursary. You put that time in, and you were successful. Do you have any sort of thoughts about the reasons why people don't apply for bursaries? Because you've shared with us very kindly that you've got another, like we're both wearing our Sunderland hats, but also we're here with completely different hats on. Me for my CILIP volunteering hat, and you from a successful bursary hat person. But you've got that other hat for the Health Libraries Group where you help facilitate their bursaries. So a kind of maybe you've got a little insight from there that you were able to bring to play with applying for our bursary. So what do you think are the barriers that some people don't apply, that you may be able to kind of dispel some of those myths for us today?
Yeah, well, I think we touched on it a little earlier, which is really that I think people assume because it is open, these bursaries are open to a wide number of people. So your CILIP North East bursary is available to anyone in CILIP who's living or working in the North East, I think, isn't it? So people think that there's no point, that other people will get there before they do, or other people will make a better application than they do, and that they won't have that is the effort going to be worth actually them their time. And I think the thing, like I said earlier, the thing is that quite often bursaries, that there aren't that many people applying for them. And I think there are many reasons for that. Whether people even know about the bursary, or whether a bursary is something that other people want to go to. So I think it's really worth, if you want to attend something, it's really worth looking to see, even if it's not CILIP North East bursary, whether there's a bursary that you can use to attend things that you want to do and improve your CV and for CPD basically. I think it's an underutilized way of getting CPD, really.
Yeah, and I think because we did quite a lot of thinking when we sort of refreshed our bursary offer, and we wanted it to be as flexible as possible, because some bursaries are very specific, almost maybe exclusive because they're for something that's far away from you are. And we wanted to be able to offer small amounts to a lot of people rather than just one person getting all the cake. We wanted people to be able to have different slices to kind of share that out. So I think that's really interesting. So what do you think have been some of the positive benefits for you having had our bursary, other than having a nice time meeting people, hopefully eating some nice food? Have there been any sort of more medium, longer term benefits that you can see? Because I think it was about this time last year, from recollection, that you got the bursary. What's that, after the fuzzy phase of going to a nice thing, what are the sort of more longer term benefits that you might have been able to identify?
Oh, hopefully you can. Oh,
yeah, you've come back now, Cheryl. Perfect.
Oh, good. I was off for a minute. Where wasn't I? Sorry. Yeah. So can you just repeat the question there, Susie? Apologies, but
Yeah, so just thinking about what have been the positive benefits, other than having a nice time
yes.
at the conference and meeting some nice people, the more
Yes.
sort of medium term benefits that you might, because you're about a year on, from getting the bursary, and I think the bursary you went was in the early summer. So have you been able to identify anything sort of more longer term than the sort of just the event niceness part of it?
Yeah, so I think that the first thing is, I know you said after, long term, but actually the conference itself was one of the best conferences I've ever been to. Yeah, it was really, really good. And I think, the fact that it really aligned with where I was at that point. And so much of what I learned at Darts 9 really fed into the questions and the thoughts and the understanding that I had at that time. I made connections as well with people who I'm still connected with, and I've met again since through other conferences. So, it really, because I think it was something that I really wanted to go to, and that's what your bursary allowed me to do. So I'm really grateful for that. So I just really wanted to say that. But the reason I wanted to go to Darts was because I was really interested in getting into original research of some description. I wasn't entirely sure what, and that. Doing the application, having a better idea, and then going to the conference actually enabled me to decide to apply for another research opportunity. So I actually applied to become part of the Research Libraries UK. So they call it a Catalyst Cohort Programme. It's run by RL UK, basically, which is a training course to help people like myself and yourself, people in higher education institution libraries, apply for funding. And so I was able to say, I applied for a bursary and I got onto this conference about research. And so it actually was a really big part of my application to then get onto, and I was successful in getting onto the third cohort Catalyst program. So it's been a key part in me then moving on in a direction that I wanted to in my in my professional life. So it's made a huge difference actually. And yeah, I think that's, and I think that there's another kind of, maybe there's another sort of route, but I've also been asked to do talks and that sort of thing, and so it's part of a kind of growing understanding and about research and research in libraries. So so it was an absolute catalyst for joining the Catalyst program.
That's really lovely to hear, because sometimes when I go to join a webinar or something, I go, oh yeah, that was very interesting. You then file your notes and then they sit in a darkened drawer and never get the light of day again. Whereas what you're saying is you were really passionate about this thing, but the lack of finance was preventing you going to do the conference. So you were like, you did a bit of research, that did take a bit of time. You found it, you're like, okay, I'm eligible, I meet the criteria, I'm in the CILIP, I'm in the North East, so I tick those boxes. And then you spent and invested that time. And I think that research is a real clear message that I'm picking up. Both, it's good to hear that our information was clear, but also that actually it does take time. And that's helpful for me if I was going to be applying for a bursary. And I think is a good message for our listeners and our members to hear that actually you do need to put that time in, but it was hugely worthwhile for you, because it's brought other things on. You were able to meet, and sometimes that networking that being at a conference facilitates that you might not get otherwise, that you then jot down, oh, that's an interesting person, I'd like to follow that up, has been super beneficial. So that just sounds really, really good. We've had a question in the chat from Leanne, which I wonder if you might be able to help. What do you think sort of maybe committees or organisations could do better to promote the bursaries? So you were saying you found it on the CILIP website. I know that CILIP have a list of all the bursaries from different groups within CILIP on one collective list as well. But is there anything that you think groups could do, where maybe could we promote stuff to get the news out? As you say, not many people maybe apply for these bursaries, so where should we be hitting? Have you got any thoughts on that while we've got you here as a captive audience?
Well, like I say, that we HLG bursaries, it's a similar thing. So I don't think I have the answer to that. I mean, obviously we use JISC mail, which I'm sure you're already using, but I think it was the word of mouth maybe. So maybe it's about going to just sort of talking more about it, I suppose, when we're out meeting other people, just kind of, and just having that in the back of our mind. I mean, I don't know whether CILIP themselves, whether maybe there's a piece to be written in the CILIP, in the CILIP magazine, Information Professional. It's still called that, right?
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Yes. Yeah, so maybe there's a piece to be written there about bursaries, so that could be something we could do maybe.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, I'll follow that up with you. Maybe we could do something together.
Yeah, because I do feel that it's I mean, I did apply for an HLG bursary before I became a member of HLG. So I had always had it on my mind to do that sort of thing. I think people are aware, but I suppose it's the other thing that's great about your bursary is that you don't have an opening and closing time in the same way that often bursaries do. You know, it might be something you want to attend, but if you miss the window of opportunity for some reason, then, you know, so that's another great thing about the CILIP North East bursary is that how often is it? So I've got a question for you. How often is it open? Does it close at any point, the bursary?
So that's a really good question. So we've got sort of two parts to the bursary. So the one that's got a time limit on is our Beyond the Horizon annual conference. So that conference happens in May each year, and the application for that open in March. So at the moment, in fact, later this afternoon, I'll be meeting with some colleagues to review the submissions for this year. And then once we've confirmed speakers, we'll then put out our advert. And as part of that, we'll talk about the bursaries. So that one has a timed thing just because of when the conference happens.
Yes.
But the aspect that you applied for is open at any point. So providing we have the funds to be able to fund the bursary, and obviously that's the key thing we do at the moment. So it's open while that money is there. There aren't any particular parameters on that. So it is just like an open call at any point. You know, if we had a point where we didn't have any money, then obviously we just would make that bursary not available for a period. But whilst we have funds, you know, we're open at any point for anyone to ask.
No, that's great. And I think it just makes such a difference. Yeah, so thank you very much, CILIP North East.
You're very welcome. Well, I'm really appreciative that you've taken time out of your lunchtime today to have this little chat. And I think it's been really supportive for people, you know, who might be thinking either applying for this bursary, or maybe if you're not eligible, maybe you don't live or work in the North East, but you might feel a bit encouraged to apply for a bursary that you are eligible for. So I think that's been really useful. And definitely I've got some things I've been jotting down on a bit of paper here that I can take away. So thank you to Cheryl for applying and then offering to have this sort of informal chat with you, but also for those of you who have come today. I've got a little short evaluation form that I've put in the chat. So if you have any feedback on us, either about this event or also we will be running events over the next year, and we have a planning meeting each summer. So we look forward to any ideas people might have for future events. And we will be making this recording available on our YouTube channel. So keep an eye out for that once we make sure we've got a full transcript to make that nicely accessible, and people will be able to access that and access it at any point there. So thank you very much, Cheryl. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming, and enjoy your afternoon.